Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do a early summer cold hardy citrus update. Starting off here with Poncirus Plus on own root. Growing nicely, no flowers yet. Over here is the fast flowering Trifoliate, also known as Precocious Poncirus. It's actually flowering now. It does do this, it makes spring flowers and then summer flowers. Some of them look like they might be capable of holding a fruit, so we'll keep an eye on this. I also would like to use some of the pollen if it matures on my potted citrus. This one I grafted to Trifoliate, but I do have the original plant on its own roots. And yeah, I'll keep an eye on this one. In this mess of weeds is my Taitri, which is grafted with Prague. I had this one in the greenhouse in one of my previous videos. You can see it. It was the plant in the corner. I transplanted it in the spring. And right next to it is another Prague on Trifoliate. If you recall, this was a bud that grew out last summer, and it survived the winter even though it wasn't fully hardened off. So growing side by side, we'll definitely get some fruit eventually. I ended up grafting a bishop onto this Trifoliate. I have it on Taitri, but that plant is pretty crowded out right now. I'll show it to you later. So yeah, I did eventually want to move some of my hardy stuff away from that wall. And there is the graft union. This, I believe, is a Morton bud. I did graft two different cold hardy citrus to this Trifoliate, and I didn't label it. The leaves don't look pure Poncirus, but maybe. I'll just keep an eye on it. If it's Morton, that's cool. I'll have another copy out here. Let me know what you think. Pretty sure it's Morton. And there's the bud right there. So the long-term goal is to have most of my cold hardy stuff either on its own roots or as a whole graft on its own separate rootstock. This is US Toll 84, which was the rootstock of my Satsuma. The Satsuma is now grafted on a lemon because this rootstock didn't do too good in the pot. I got root rot, but I was able to save a cutting from the base and root it out. And here it is 2 years later. It did die to the ground at one point, but it resprouted. This is the Precocious Poncirus, aka Fast Flowering Trifoliate. This is on its own roots, and I'm noticing all the flower buds here on the left side of the plant. It's not too tall, maybe less than 2 feet. Maybe one of these flowers will turn into a fruit. And hopefully there's enough time for it to ripen. Or at least the seeds can ripen so I can plant some out. Here is the trunk. It's no thicker than my finger. But the plant feels pretty sturdy. So maybe it can hold a fruit at this size. We'll see. I can at least use the pollen to cross-pollinate one of my potted citrus and see if we can get a hybrid. Haven't had any success so far, but that's on my part because I need to learn how to take care of my seedlings better. So this may pop. I think I'm going to rip it out because my original Prague, this is the one from Mackenzie Farms, I believe it's grafted to Flying Dragon only because it grows very slowly. I'd like to confirm this by letting a bud of the rootstock grow out, and if it's crooked, the thorns are crooked, then I'll know it's Flying Dragon. But yeah, this Maypop likes to climb on everything, and it's also sending suckers pretty far across the property here. For example, this is probably 15 feet from the plant. And here is a pure Poncirus seedling. I believe it's 2 years old now. I think this is actually the only one that I have in the yard that's not grafted on with anything on it. Here's the trunk. My goal for this plant is eventually to graft something onto it, since I already have the Poncirus Plus on its own root. Here is my Taitri cutting number 1. I have a few of these in the yard, which will eventually be used for grafting. It's between my Feijoas here. Someone had asked to see an update on the Feijoas. That's a short update for you. Here's the other Taitri, number 2, Taitri number 3, and Taitri number 4. Bricks are here to prevent the weed whacker from whacking. And here is one of the flying dragon seedlings from my previous video. I stuck it here in front of the greenhouse. And on the inside, if you recall in my previous video, this Taitri here, I had plans to either move it out or graft something onto it. Kind of forgot to do all that, and it's growing uncontrollably, but we'll leave it for now. It's not bothering anything. Yuzu seedling in the corner is doing good. The Thomasville that I grafted to Trifoliate is having another growth flush. And I think I see what might be a flower bud, but I don't think this can hold fruit at this size, and I wouldn't want it to. It might break the graft. I stuck a Meyer lemon over here in the spring, and it's doing pretty good. Some of the old leaves just falling off. I'm going to keep a small space heater in here during the winter just for the nighttime freezing. See what happens. I'll try to keep it just to these 3 branches so it doesn't push out the polycarbonate pane there. And welcome to my new pomegranate. This is a soft-seeded variety. Probably butchering their name, but it's called Sirenevyi, and it's a cold hardy, considered a Russian pomegranate. It's supposed to be good to 6B, 6A with protection, someone was telling me. We're going to test it here in my 7A garden against this wall for extra heat. The quince that I want to graft with a spring flowering loquat is doing pretty good. Over here is my Taitri, multi-grafted with different cold hardy varieties, including the Prague, which is what you see in the foreground here. It did make a single flower, but it didn't become a fruit, unfortunately. So fingers crossed, next year, if not, we'll get some flowers during the summer. Don't know if they'll have enough time to ripen, though, if they become fruit. Up here is Taitri, as well as the Thomasville high graft that I did. Started to grow as well. I'm leaving some of the Taitri branches to see if we can get some flowers. This is Bishop. Already have the Bishop on the Poncirus you saw earlier. And this is the Ichang Papeda. Also didn't flower, unfortunately. There's the graft. But yeah, this is mostly Prague, I would consider this tree, because it's just the way it's been growing vigorously on Taitri. Back there is Morton, hard to see because of the thorns. And in the back to the right here is another fast flowering Trifoliate, which looks like it has a few flower buds on it. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up. So whenever this Taitri, multi-grafted Taitri, decides to flower, it'll be interesting to see if anything gets open pollinated. So when we plant the seeds out, we'll have some naturally formed hybrids. Citrumelo here on the right. This is a lanternfly nymph, which is becoming an adult. Schwacked it off. These things are everywhere, unfortunately. Not much we can do. Citrumelo is looking great, super tall. At this rate, I think we'll have flowers by next year, hopefully. If you recall, the groundhog chewed up the Taitri. It's pretty much healed over, calloused nicely. And over here is my last group of hardy citrus trees. I stuck a little Yuzu seedling in here just to see what happens. This is Poncirus Plus, grafted onto Trifoliate. No flowers yet, but it's pretty tall and side branching at the moment, which is a good sign for eventual flowers. I did say I wanted to graft Thomasville onto one of the branches here, which I did. So I did a bud graft and a cleft graft next to it, and both are growing out now. So it will be cool to see what happens to Thomasville on this Poncirus Plus branch. And in the background, you can see Morton. Morton is also doing well, got pretty tall. My potted Morton flowered, this one didn't. And here is the main trunk of the original plant. Next to it is the Yuzu that survived winter. And I clipped a piece of the main stem here and grafted it to the remaining rootstock in one of the pots where my original Yuzu was, which died back to the graft point. So we'll see what happens with that graft. If you recall, in my pomegranate video, I said these bushes might be too young to hold fruit. Well, I was wrong, and it looks like they're holding quite a few fruit, at least a dozen on this bush on the left. This is a 3-year-old cutting of my main Afganski pomegranate. There's a few more down here. I did hand pollinate, but I think some of them set without me pollinating, so the insects are definitely doing their job here. And this one has 1 or 2. This one is smaller. Well, that's pretty cool. I was a little bit concerned that my main tree made so many male flowers that I'd get no fruit. But between the 3 of these mature ones, we'll have at least a dozen fruit, if not more. This smaller cutting here also flowered, but it didn't hold anything. This one is very bushy. I haven't tried to prune it at all. And here's the main tree. I did end up getting female flowers in this next wave of blooms, and some of them are already setting. Not as prolifically as last year, but can't complain. The more pomegranate trees you have, the more fruit you get, right? So with the Sirenevyi and the rooted Afganski around the yard, I'll have more than enough. And I did want a soft-seeded variety to contrast this hard-seeded variety. Different uses, different flavor as well. And down here is one of the June set fruits. I ended up writing on it with a Sharpie so I can compare the ripeness of this fruit to the later formed fruits on this tree. There's another one back here. Alright, well, if you made it to the end of this video, I know it was a lot of talking. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.